episode 7. So, tad unprepared. It's just me. Um, what's up, Jeffrey? Hey, Jay. So, started with the trick or tip. Here's a tip, maybe a trick for just tree work in general. Maybe if you do um, even small time logging. Now, I have to redo my trailer, so I figured now's as good a time as any to go ahead and show you this, and I'll probably redo everything so it won't be like this long term. It's gonna change. I have to replace my racks, but and the floor. So if you're winching logs on, you got logs and you're trying to get them onto your trailer, it's really tricky. Say you have a winch. I have one up here. So you look up through there, this thing here. I'll take you guys up there. Oh, this is a little winch that I welded together and made from a trailer, like a pickup crane. So you can't really tell until you look at it from the side. There you go. So the way it works, this little thing does. This thing swings completely. It also lifts here with a jack. It lifts it up in the air, and this extends out 2 times. So yeah, pretty nice little setup. This thing goes, it does a full 360. It'll go all the way around. With the winch here, and the solenoid and everything is mounted inside that toolbox. So I have 2 different little ways that I can actually run it. I have a little remote control. So I have a little remote control thing. It goes right here. There's a plug. Take that little cap off. There's a plug in right there. My dogs are driving me nuts. So there's a little plug right here, and this remote that's over there, plug straight into it. It'll run the crane, and there's also straight controls over here. So right here, I have just a button control that's there. That's just live. So the way this thing ends up working is I spin it around to the back here. Now, when you have logs, the issue with logs is trying to get them up into the trailer. You run the face of the log into the trailer. So I ended up putting some metal like strip across the back so I didn't chip the wood all up. That didn't matter, it still rotted my floors out. But I made this thing, and what this is I call it a log lift. And what it does is it lifts the log up into the air so that you can get the butt of the log up there, and then you can pull it up the rest of the way. Even if you don't have a trailer crane and you just have like a simple winch, just a winch at the front, it'll still pull everything up. What this does is gives lift. So it just slides on. If you notice where those 2x4s are at, right here, there's a little metal plate here to stop it from smashing the wood, and it just slides over the 2x4. Same thing on the other side. And then it's a real simple little setup where you just take this pin out of this. What that is a little pulley. You take your wire, run it down here, put it up to there, put it on this wheel, set it back up in there. I lost the pin. I gotta get a pin for it. I forgot. But yeah, so you set that back in there, and after you do it a few times, you're much quicker. But then you just hit the winch up there, and what happens is with this redirect, you're just causing a redirect. It lifts the log up into the air. Then you can set it down onto it, take it off there, and then sucks up the rest of the log up into there. It also works to get the logs off. You would just do it in reverse, run to this, then run like a little ways past halfway, hook it on, and it would pull the log back here to get it off the back. So then after you get it so far back, you can kind of drive off. But there is my daily tip or trick. That's for anybody that does tree work, messes with logs. That same thing would work for lifting big stumps or whatever, just whatever it is. So yeah, very simple solution, and it works really, really good. I have some really big oak trees that I did them with those, and I still have the logs. I haven't done anything with them, but I also, that tree that we did yesterday, oh, you can't even tell, hang on, does that even show? Behind that board, I milled up two slabs out of that old hard maple that was there. There's like 2, 3 or 4 inch slabs that I got out of it. They were pretty nice. But yeah, let me catch up with you guys for a second, and then we'll probably have to move this to the shed because I have to hook my phone up to a charger. But yeah. How you been, Jeffrey? How's the family? You like it, huh? Yeah, it's a very simple, easy little setup, and I'm about to redo my trailer, and I don't know what I'll do for this part. I'm gonna beef that little section up because I still want to be able to use that tool. I made that out of skis and welded it together myself, so I loved how it was just the right shape that the 2x4 would work, and it would fit and be nice. But yeah, I'm gonna go over some comments. Great, awesome, dude. That is awesome to hear. How about you and your family? We're doing all right. Can't complain. So I got a lot more I went back, and a lot of them ended up getting deleted, which I guess I can't fault the guy if he ends up deleting his comment and he was kind of being rude. I've been there. I had some of the comments where they changed literally while I was looking at them, the wording of them, which is always interesting. But I've been guilty of doing the same thing. The way you word it doesn't come out the best, but it's kind of a good week for tree work stuff. August has been kicking videos out. I have missed the new treason video. I haven't seen that yet. Um, Jay, everybody. I mean, last week Jay was really kicking them out. Who else? Oh, we got some from Dan last week. Schroeder's been kicking some out here lately. I was trying my best to catch up on some. I seen a few shorts that were really cool. I like the trees ones. Um, but yeah, there's been a lot of good stuff coming out here lately. I've been trying my best to keep the content rolling, but so I am gonna use this chance to answer some of those comments. So, Lave Room Man 2824 says, if you have fear, then you are open for mistakes. You have to respect the job you are doing and be cautious. Stay safe. So that was on the first video, and I don't know. I guess as the creator of it, you could take that a couple different ways. Um, let me see. Let's try that again. Lave Room Man 2824 says, if you have fear, then you are open for mistakes. You have to respect the job you're doing and be cautious. So I know, maybe I don't know if he's saying that I don't respect the job and the the danger in it, and I'm not cautious. I don't really know, but I have to disagree completely with the if you have fear, then you're open for mistakes. You're gonna have mistakes. I feel like if you don't have fear, you are you're insane. Like, this is not safe. This is not safe. I don't care. It's not if it's a job, if it's something you do for fun, if it's a task that you have to take care of around your own home. It's not safe. It no matter how you look at it. So um, I feel like uh, a healthy dose of fear is always a good thing. I have that bit of fear always because I have a lot of things that I want to live for. So until those things are no longer there, I'll probably have fear every time I ever take my feet off the ground. So yeah, I don't know. I don't. That definitely wasn't the meanest, comment. But at the same time, it's like I don't know if he's saying that I don't respect the danger and I'm not cautious, but I was more. I don't think people can understand doing something repeatedly that you're fearful of, but continuing to do it. I guess some people think like if it scares you, you shouldn't do it. I don't agree with that. Like a lot of guys do do things that and do jobs that are very dangerous, and maybe that's what they're here for. A lot of people don't have the stomach to be able to handle something like that, and the nerves to handle a job that maybe puts you in that amount of danger and stress. But somebody has to do it. So like I can't. My purpose of that video and of these last three videos is more to explain that I'll relate it to someone else's job. So you go to work and you don't. Do you feel perfect every day? Are you firing on every cylinder every day? You never make a mistake. You never have a day where you feel off. You're just boom, boom. You're perfect always. That's not. That's not real. Let me catch up on a couple comments and I'll continue. How you been, Dano? Thank you, Jeffrey. Was not fearing the consequences. I've made the biggest mistakes. Yeah, yeah, 100%. That's it. When it's the same thing as like, okay, you're gonna you're gonna do something that's just a risky thing. Like, it's like going to a four-way stop. You could shoot straight through that thing. That when you get to a road or a two-way, an intersection on a highway. There's a highway. There's a road here. You could be ignorant and not stop. And your odds of getting across that road without getting T-boned, depending on the traffic, may be great. Just may be perfect. But one of them times you can get completely smashed. So when you know that you're supposed to stop, you know that they have a stop sign there for a reason. It's because it's dangerous. But you continue to shoot through it. Now, if you don't care and you're not looking and you're not trying to like spot it out long ways, but you're just blind. You just think it like that's no fear. That's eventually you're gonna get got because you don't respect like the rules and how things work and like I don't know how to explain it any clearer. It's hard to do something that is dangerous on the regular and be able to stomach that. Guys that do this kind of stuff end up with ulcers and stuff because of the stress that's involved. So I don't agree with that. I'm gonna have to say that that one I pretty much totally disagree with. Um, but I don't know that he was trying to be rude or mean or anything. So I dig that he left feedback for me. And if I maybe took it wrong, then that's my fault. Maybe he didn't mean anything by any of it because a lot of I don't know because it's like he says if you have fear then you are open for mistakes. Um, that's like saying when you don't have fear you've never made a mistake. You've never made a mistake when you don't have fear, and that's just a wild thing to say in my opinion. So all seasons. What's up? Also good content. I've caught some here in the past month. So not thinking of consequences has them. 100%, Dano. Yeah, we were trying. Yeah, appreciate that, Dan. Um, and so that I think that was from part one. And in part one, my main focus there was to explain that like there's times where you go to do this and you're personally not at your best that day. So you don't want to push those limits that you know you can because of the knowledge and like experience that you've developed. Some days you don't want to use that. You just feel like, no, it's not worth it. No, because you kind of feel off. I feel like I've had many of those days, and sometimes I just have to push a little further because I'm like, am I, am I not wanting to do this right now because I'm gonna get hurt, or am I just kind of being, somewhat lazy or um, a bit of a sissy? You know, I know that's weird to say, but that's happened to me many times. So many times where I've wasted hours, and then finally I just kind of clicked into like, okay, I'm gonna get it done. But I don't know what that is. There's learning my limits. Like I know my limits, and it was like, do I want to? It's like taking that shortcut to work. Like you're right on time. Like you're running maybe a minute behind, and you don't want to be late to work. But you can take this shortcut. But when you take that shortcut, there's always a cop there, and but you can get to work quicker. But you're going to be speeding a little bit, so there's a chance you can get a ticket. Do you take that shortcut and take a chance of getting a ticket, or do you just take the normal way and do it slowly, and maybe you're a minute late and there's some consequences? Like you're having to play all those things out. Like it's dangerous. I don't care how you want to look at it. It's dangerous. Can I maneuver my way through this puzzle of danger today? And like that was just I was having a bit of an internal battle. I don't can't explain it any better than that. So, William, what's up, brother? What's up, brother? So let's go to the shed. I'm gonna finish this up. I'm getting chewed up by mosquitoes, guys. So I'm gonna figure out a way to do this so I'm not like bouncing this damn. Here's the thing. Look at this thing. This thing's crazy. Did you guys go onto? It's got a weird gooseneck on it. Looks like a microphone stand. But and check out. Look at these pampas grasses here. Oh, there's not one there. There's a manual pad for me skating. All these I got at a landfill. Somebody threw them away, and I brought them home, and I managed somehow to get them all to live and come back. So eventually they'll block the fence enough so the damn dog can't see. But yeah, yeah, I don't. I'm sure that's not a very relatable thing to 99% of the world to be fearful all the time at work. So like I didn't expect everyone to get it and to relate to it, but there was a lot of guys that did relate to it, and those were the guys I was kind of shooting for, and I knew they were gonna understand. So I just went with it. But, all right. Yeah. Yeah. So there's a few more comments too. I gotta grab my charger. What's up, guys? So I have coming up the reason like that I somewhat agree with most of these comments that are like that thing was fine. You're kind of overdoing it. You're over woofing it. You're overselling it. You're trying to make it sound worse than it. No, no. It was an internal battle that day. It and there was a few spots on the tree specifically that really, really, really bugged me. But I think people take your thumbnail and your title so incredibly like literal sometimes that there's no discussion about it. Hang on just a second. I gotta put you guys on here and hook you to this charger real quick. I'll try to keep up the comments. Yes, to the shop. So how's things been going? You still dealing with the trolls, Dano? Those guys are normally those guys that are saying that kind of stuff to you, Dano. Those are just they're secretly fans of yours. It's just as some men just have an issue with being able to like to tell another dude that he's cool or he did anything good or wow you did something I can't do. I wouldn't have done that. That you got to think about that. To them, it's it's too hard for them to be like, wow, you did something I can't do. That's incredible. So instead, they're like, you're kind of stupid for doing that. But that's the nature of YouTube nowadays. I feel like, but I have a like I am dead serious. This tree had failed. Like it's a rotten, crumbly rotten ash tree that, man, we really, really pushed it. All of a sudden, there was one section that was left. I was so far from my tie-in point. It was so dead, and it was so far of a swing, but we were going to try to rig it anyway, and it was so crazy. It was, I had one barber chair, and I made my, like, here's another tip I'm going to give you right now. You're dealing with dead stuff. I don't, like, I'm no longer, I'm over the snap cut, like as a face cut, like just a front cut and then start cutting in the back. They barber chair too often. I had one barber chair, it stood up, it went up the piece. We're talking a chunk, a limb that was like this big around. I made my back cut, I'm tied in right below it. As I went to cut here, it barber chaired and stood up on top of like the barber chair, which put it above my head. And I was trying to position myself to where I'm like hip level with it, knowing the piece is going to drop down and get away from me. Well, what happened is it stood up in the air, and the butt was now above, like up over my head, and it just dropped down towards me, and I had to shove it away from me. Luckily, it just missed me, and some of the rigging and swinging, like it was such a far swing that I couldn't put anything on my stem because it had such a half of this tree was completely rotted out the side. It was falling apart to the point I couldn't put a spike in to get up it. That's how bad it was. And I'd say it's maybe, it was a 6 to 8 foot. It was a monster on the stuff, like enormous. So that's coming up pretty soon, and it should be interesting. What happened? I ended up getting out on that stem, and the rain started to come, and I just like started spazzing about my gear getting wet and thinking, and I like tuned out for a second, and before I knew it, I had done everything, and I'm like, oh my god, I did it. Like I did it. I had gotten to where I'd looked at it so many times, gotten up there so many times, and got down and said, I can't. I don't know how to do it. Like I'm spazzing right now. Like when I'm down here, it looks doable, but when I'm up there, it's not. So another one coming up to where I just totally get in my own head so much that it's a battle that I have mainly with myself, and it's something I've always kind of, this stuff always happens with me. I've just never really talked about it, and I'm kind of curious if other climbers ever deal with it. So because I'm like, if I'm that guy that's like, I think I got you, anything can be done. I like to be that guy. I hate when I'm like, I said I could, but then I can't. So, but yes, but they get deleted quickly. Right on, Dano. Hey, that's how you deal with them. Get her done, man. I'm sure that there's quite a few guys that probably watch my channel that they've left crazy rude comments before, but like, I get it. Everybody has an off day, and some of them we end up getting along, and I think all often these guys that leave these crazy rude comments, I would get along with probably in real life. Like they're passionate people, and I'm a passionate guy, about the things and my family and my friends, and so a lot of times I think we probably would relate, but the internet makes it very hard for people to relate because they're too busy in a competition. So, Joe Corner Network left a comment. Oh yeah, this was a really cool one. I don't know if I've ever read too many comments from Joe, but Joe Corner Network says, "My brother, you are a great and safe arborist. Stay safe." Dude, thank you. Like, I appreciate that. Um, I try. I try, because like this is like being a cowboy is just, it's not worth it. I could look really cool and do some stupid shit sometimes. for the sake of content, but like I don't want to mess people's stuff up. I don't want to hurt myself or somebody else, and I don't want to put stupid ideas in someone's head that something like that's doable. Because I do feel like there's a safe there is there is the safest way to do it, and I'm always trying to find that. Sometimes the safest way to do it still ain't safe, but most times it's not still safe. But yeah, yeah, I don't want to go off on a tangent there. Michael Cook 292 says, "Could you have ziplined them to the trailer or in that direction?" Um, oh, you know what? I think Michael may have edited his. Like he may have reworded his, and I appreciate that, Michael. I think his was a video or a comment that I was actually reading um, when I uploaded it, or right after I'd uploaded. He was one of the first, and so I read the comment, and I'm like, "Whoa, that's really like." I think he just basically was like, "You could have zip lined it to the trailer," and then he reworded it. Could you have zip line? Maybe auto spell or whatever put it in like that. But Michael, thank you for rewording it. I do appreciate that. Um, and to answer your question, possibly. The issue with that tree was, if you notice, there was a large limb that was on the house, and there was a couple other larger limbs that had already hit the house and were on the other side, had fell off, they've taken off. Um, the sections that were dead were literally falling apart. Like touch them and they break. So that was the issue. Like, yeah, a section may look like it looks green, but I know when it throws a bunch of suckers out right below a dead section, that section's pretty dead if the suckers stop at one like area because it's trying to cover itself up because it's still kind of living in that area, dead the rest. But there were so many signs with this that told me that it was bad. I was feeling the movement in the tree, the way it was kind of wiggling. And with speed lining, you're going to put a quick shock load and a side pull on whatever it is you're anchored to. That's my problem with speed lining is I know it works really good with the like conifers, the straight up and down trees that are runged. Um, those are usually structurally very good. Most of our trees aren't just straight up and down. That leads are horizontal almost at times. You know, it would be nice if everything was straight up and vertical so it could take the bend and accept, but a lot of the stuff isn't. The limb that I would have had to speed lined off of for most of it, I don't I didn't trust that it would hold when it dropped in and shook the thing. Not to mention there was only about 8 to 10 feet of a space between the high voltage wires and the house that it had to fit right in there. So it was very tight. I know it didn't look all that tight when you're watching it on the video. The reason for that's a wide angle lens, and the way the wide angle lens works is the further away it is, the wider it makes it look. So it like if up close it looks like it's hard to explain, but they take a picture and they stretch it. So like what you're seeing down there is much tighter than it actually looks. If you notice that trailer was in there, only it was about a trailer length gap down in there, and the wind was coming in pretty good at times, and I just didn't want to. I didn't want to risk swinging it in between them on them gaps. I have to do all the logs like that as I piece the whole thing down, and so I'm gonna have to shoot that gap. But with the ones with the limbs, some of them were spread out so much they wouldn't have fit. So like it would have been nice if I could got up so far out on all the tips. I probably would have speed lined a lot of it, but it was really close anyway, you know. So I didn't really see the purpose of getting it a couple more feet when we could have more control. And with these limbs, they're going like this, where normal guys, a lot of times guys are dealing with a pine tree that's completely straight up and down.
You're rigging, causing compression. For me to cause compression on a limb, the two limbs that are like this, I'm having to put a rigging point here and a rigging point here, and I'm compressing them together to negate the fact that they're already starting. They're not perfect. They're not going to cause perfect compression with it because of the way they've grown. So the potential for them breaking is always more. So it's a tough one. Like, yeah, in theory, I could have speedlined them to the trailer if I could have got far enough out on all of them to do that and to do it in small enough pieces that it was for sure going to go in there. But it also with speedlining, they it gets a swing to it as it's going. So I just didn't want to risk it. Tell you the truth. So, but I did end up speedlining some into the backyard, which is more open and wider of an area. So I just needed to get it over the fence and not go that way anyway. So we would actually go over like the corner of the house when we're doing it. And with rigging, as I'm rigging dead pieces, you always do gotta watch. I almost completely destroyed the gutter because one of the limbs came and hit and broke, and somehow it missed the gutter. I have no idea how, but it put just perfect around the gutter. And so on the next couple really like falling apart crispy dead ones, that we speedline them into the backyard because rigging them, even though technically to me felt safer, speedlining was going to be safer because we weren't going to end up with the explosion of the debris when it hit and impacted. And we were not taking the risk of something breaking and then we no longer have control over it and it's just free falling. So, okay, what's going on? Oh, dang. I caught alive. What's up, brother? Well, thanks for stopping in and leaving a comment. Let me know you're here. Speedline needs a lot of drop before the control kicks in. Yeah. Yeah, there is. And there's not. That is the most. You're giving up more control there than with any other rigging. That is somewhat controlled. It's not fully controlled. Now, if you was to turn that speed line into a controlled speed line, then you have control at all times and you could stop it. But I want the ability at times with these things to be able to stop them if it's not going right or if it's going to hit something. And if you can't stop it, you don't have control. So, speed line, if it starts to sway and swing as it drops, like if you drop a limb into a speed line from over here, it is going to drop down and it's going to swing way out over here first. And then it's going to swing back and there's going to be a kickback that like happens. And some of these limbs are much longer than they look, I'm telling you. So I hope that answered that one. I'm going to catch up on comments first, and then I'll go into the next one here. When I'm on the ground, things look crazy, but when I get up there, things change. The two tree thing. Yeah. The one you see from the ground. 100%, man. It's two different things. Like, there's ones where I've seen them on the ground, and after I get up in them, they're 10 times harder. There's other ones that I've seen from the ground. I'm like, I don't know if that's doable. I get up there, I'm like, oh yeah, hey, it's doable. Like, this is cool. Like, it looked way worse than it is after I'm up there. Um, that's that gamble. Like, I'm telling you guys, I did the most embarrassing thing. I was gonna do this ash tree. Said everything's cool. I got it. No issues. When I walked around, this thing is so incredibly dead and has such there's a 15, I don't know, it's 15 foot, it probably goes about 15 feet up. It's the whole back of the tree's missing. It's like crumbling and it has limbs that are this big growing out of it, and they're growing to where they grow out and go horizontal over the house. And I don't know why I didn't walk around the back of the tree and look at the back of it. I only looked at the front like an idiot, and it had some stuff that we ended up trimming off of it to get away from it, so we kind of clear it out and put the porter wrap stuff on. Jake actually knew it before I did. He put the bollard around, and as he did that, I'm putting my climb line, I get everything set up, and I'm about to head up, and I walk around the back because it's going to be easier to go up the backside where the high voltage wires are back here, and then we're taking everything into the small yard there. And as I walk around the back, I am absolutely dumbfounded how stupid I am and how insanely dangerous, like more dangerous that this just got. So that'll be fun to show how I'm a complete idiot. I appreciate what you do, sir. Thanks for the shout out. Oh, no problem. No problem. So equals 488 left one that I don't know. You guys tell me. Okay, you tree climber slash trimmer at least. Why climb a tree you are or you have stated felt unsafe? Why not use a bucket and cut and hold? So, first of all, the situation of this one was I'm at home like this. Phone rings, I pick up. Hey, dude, could you help me with this? There's no way to get any kind of machine to, or no, there is. I don't know why he didn't do that, but he just asked, could you do this? And I'm like, yeah, yeah, I think so. And it looks doable. I look at pictures. That's what I went off for that. Then I drove 2.5 hours to it. That guy that asked is there with his guys. I show up, me and Jake, I look. Yeah, it's not all that. And as I got up in it, it just got worse and worse. The issue, really main issue I ran into that terrified me is that the one good limb that went up through that I felt was somewhat healthy, it went up about right here, and it dog-legged out like this. Let's say it this way. So it dog-legged out like kind of like this. It did a little swoop up, and I couldn't get a throw ball up to it because I would have threw my throw ball over the top of the high voltage wires, which are directly behind it. So I had to settle for a lower tie-in point. But then as I tried to climb up past that dog leg, I couldn't do it. It went up, then it swooped out like this, and it went out. And as it went out, it kind of went out over the wires and straightened itself kind of back up and had some green stuff. And as the wind would blow, that thing moved so much every time. So what ended up happening is that section, I got up on this one, the dead one, as I was rigging, and I took the top out of it. But before I took the top out, as I tied in, or as I tied it up and got it all ready, I noticed I'm pretty close to the actual tie-in point that I wanted to have. I wonder if I could, maybe I could, maybe I could set it from here. So I ended up taking my tail and I used and hooked up my gree, then was able to set it into that top where I couldn't do it from the ground because of the high voltage wires, and it was just like an impossible shot to get. I tried it a couple times. I got close to going over the high voltage wires, which then I was like, no, I'm done. I was able to get that time point. After I had that time point, even when I had it, as I went up at the very end to take that top, that dog leg felt gnarly. It felt like it was twisting. And that's just the opposite of what I wanted. So the dog leg gear, it had been trimmed by the electric company and it did not heal very good. I'm looking at dead wood in the center and it's just, I don't know. It did not feel good. I know maybe to some it looked okay, but yeah. So I did it because I can, and I'm just sharing the kind of battle that I go through and the issues that I came into, and maybe it becomes relatable to somebody. Maybe it helps them somewhere along the way. I will always stick to my guns though and say that you should always trust your gut. Maybe that's just not the day. Luckily, on this particular day, there's been times where I've walked away and days and weeks have gone by and then I figure something out and I'm able to do something. On this one, I was able to have that battle on the spot with myself where I didn't think I could do it and I worked my way through it. What I told myself is even though this, because once again, there's nothing about this that's safe. So to say that why would you do something when you know it's unsafe? I would never leave the ground if I didn't want to do something unsafe. I would never fire up a chainsaw if I didn't want to do anything that's unsafe. So it's learning the limits of that though. So I mean, I I more just had to. This is why I told myself maybe I can do it, but maybe I can't. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start. I'm gonna work on what I can, one section at a time. If a section feels too dangerous or I don't have a clean, clear way of doing it, skip it. Go to the next. This isn't a straight up and down pine tree. That's one stem. There's multiple things I can work on. Just work on them. And before I knew it, I got myself down to the last one. And if you watch that last top come out, the camera did no justice. So speed line worst. Yeah, that's very true. All trees, that like he's saying, the silver lining is that the worst trees and the most dangerous stuff will do the best and make the best videos and will get the most views. And I'm definitely never going to be the guy who's out fishing for the most dangerous thing to do. That's not what I do. But I do like to be a problem solver. And at times, maybe I'm that last guy that down the line where they've tried 15 other people and they've all just been like, no, that's not doable. Or I still to this day feel like everything is doable. Are you willing to take all them steps? And do you have the ability or knowledge to complete it? It can be done. What's it going to consist of, though? So, yeah, I like that aspect of it. So, um, next one is BR. BR left a comment. He said, "Great job, bud. Really nice, my opinion. From the video, I'm not there, obviously. I don't think the tree was too bad. Every cut in the big wood was solid and to me looked to me like there was a couple dead pieces on the tree, but I think it was very safe to climb. That's my opinion. That's my opinion, and I was not there. I'm not I'm not trying to say anything bad. You did wonderful. God bless, brother. Um, yeah, I'll give it to you 100%. Like the wood, the bigger wood, as you get into the actual chunk of it, it was pretty solid. It was more growth patterns and like previous trim history that had me spooked on the lead. They went over the high voltage. The high voltage wires made everything worse. Like that probably a lot of that wouldn't have felt too bad. I would have swung it big, but whatever I do, however much weight I drop into that, it's gonna swing. I got to keep it to a size that doesn't make the rigging point fail, doesn't touch the house, and doesn't swing so much that it hits the high voltage wires. So there's also a fence below it, And at at any point, I don't think it would have been possible to do and rig that tree out on a single one of those stems. Like, I think the potential for them failing was still crazy high. Like the unions on that tree were trash, and they always are with those weird, skinny, trimmed up looking oaks that they put on. Like, I don't know why they just don't. I don't know. They butchered the tree to the point that it basically killed it, in my opinion. So I don't understand why they really left it, but that is what it is. Yeah, the actual wood itself, and the more into the main like stem of the tree that I got, the healthier it did get. The the bad stuff was more on the outers, and maybe the roots had been hit, and maybe that's why certain areas died out before other ones. I don't really understand why some of them died out and some of them stayed alive, but yeah, the tree had conch on it, which is a white little mushroom that grows on the bark. When something has conch on it, it is pretty far gone. A lot of those pieces that maybe look solid were really foamy, like styrofoam. They had gotten really, they were really, really dead. Even the wood looked to be really good, but it was foamy. Like it didn't weigh much. We had issues. We didn't have enough weight in the system to get the piece down a lot of times because of our friction. So um, yeah, I agree. I agree. There was a lot of good green solid wood that was in that tree, and I did. There were parts of that tree that were okay. They were safe to do. Like they weren't as bad as I was thinking, but it didn't much. It didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. The limb that you seen that was green that I was tied into, at one point it's growing out of the same union, and on that union there's conch. So somehow this section died, this section did. Like you don't really know. So you're playing it by ear. You're putting a little bit of weight into it. You're testing it here and there, and yeah, after it's all said and done, and you know it's down, the tree wasn't like the worst tree in the world. Um, there was a couple parts on it that I just didn't know if it was possible to do, and some of it I had to rig so big that I was pushing the limits of the space and the capability of the tree that it could break. But yeah, I just did what I could. I focused in on one section at a time, and it got me through it. So I think that's something that you could take in everyday life and do that with anything in life. Simplify it when you feel overwhelmed. Focus more on one aspect of it or one part of it. Move to the next, and before you know it, you will finish your problem or issue that you had, and it's not as overwhelming as looking at the whole problem as a looking at the problem as a whole. It becomes overwhelming sometimes. Anything you can break things down, and it makes them more manageable and less stressful. So that's basically what I did there. I just I simplified things. You know, simple feels safe. Overcomplicating things can become really dangerous. Like I've I feel a lot of times more nervous on overcomplicated systems where I've had this 15 different redirects and I'm compressing and this because it's not simple. Like simple is it just feels safer. There's less things to worry about. So I don't know. I don't know if you even get what I'm saying, but I'm trying to make a point here. I'm just not good at it. So other than that, um, I had something else I was gonna do, but I think I'm gonna save it for next time. Do you guys have anything you want to discuss? I actually have some climbing, like my climbing gear and stuff in here. My saddle still. But how's everybody's week been? Um, and you guys can kind of be. Oh shoot! I was gonna. No, I need to push through this. Dang it! So You're gonna get some content pretty quick. I have to. I have one more part to this video. It'll be a Hollywood highlight video. Boom, 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 boom. Doing the last of the log. Um, then I'll jump over to a video that maybe this one was about maybe it's going on a month ago, and it was a dead oak tree that was in a yard that the whole yard was soupy. It was real nice grass, but then they had sprinkler systems all over this yard, and like, so I only had a little area to put stuff in. And I didn't really feel like rigging. We were just trying to do it quick, and so I have that one coming. And that was like the first day that I noticed that the locust bugs were around, and they were so crazy. At the end, the lady's driveway is covered with like what looks like little pieces of wood or leaves, and I'm like, shoot, we got to clean the driveway off. I don't remember it being that dirty when or bad when we got here, so we'll clean it off. As I went to do it, it was all locust shells from the bug where it had climbed out of its shell. There were thousands, hundreds of thousands of them, and they were everywhere. They were landing on me. It was so that was the first day that I seen them really, and they're still here. They're still just maybe they're not as bad now, but there's a trailer park down a few miles from me. I think my uncle may actually have his camper in there. He rents a pad, but they are having them so bad the bugs dying, and they're in spots they're like this deep of dead carcasses, and they're rotting, and they said they're rancid. So I think our area is just probably really bad because we have a lot of mines underneath us. Like the Bon Terre mines is like next town over, and it's like a world famous mine where people come from all over to go down. It's pretty cool. Like I went down and I took my daughter to it and stuff. It is pretty cool, but it's an old abandoned mine shaft where you go take a crazy walk. You're like 100 feet below ground, and then they take you on a pontoon boat through the caves because they're full of water now. And the water's so clear you can see all the way to the bottom, and there's like old machinery there and old railroad tracks that just end above your head, or tunnels that go here and there. And it's gnarly. So I would recommend if anybody gets in this area and you're looking for something to do, go to the Bon Terre Mines. Red Bull did an event there where they did wakeboarding. And so if you get bored and you want something to watch on YouTube, look up Bon Terre Mines Red Bull wakeboarding. They brought ramps that like are on floats. They put air in them and they float up, and they had like grind boxes, and they were doing tricks in the mines, which seems terrifying to me. I think you can actually go diving there too. You can take classes and learn how to go diving, and yeah. So, but yeah, what I did my hour. I think this is episode 7. I did a really bad job at the title. I don't even think I put a title on this one, but I'll think about what we talked about later on, put a title on it. But I think this is episode 7 of Tree Talk. Um, yeah. I have some other stuff that I want to talk about, but I don't want to. I feel like I'm being petty if I talk about it. Like it's petty, but like I feel like, damn it, my ideas get stolen all the time, and like the shit that I say gets repeated blatantly sometimes. That I'm being a sissy, guys. Thank you. I appreciate you so much. Um, yeah, if you make YouTube videos, you watch this, and you make tree videos, tag me. Like, I it's so hard for me to remember. I have a YouTube Studios, which is a completely different app that I click on to check you guys' comments and comment back. So I can't just like look at your comment and click on it and go to your page to see if you have content. So if you put out a video, it's a video you like, tag me. I want to see it. Maybe we talk about it as part of the beginning of the episode each week. Um, I'd like to see some of you guys' content. So if you make content, you want me to talk about it, you want a little bit of a shout out, tag me. I mean, I don't have the biggest audience, but if I can help you out, grow your channel, tag me. Other than that, as always, you guys are the best. Thank you for the support. I'm always open to ideas. Tell me what you want to see next week. If you don't tell me what you want to see, I'm just gonna come up with something on my own, and I'm sure you guys are smarter than me. So, see you next week. Have a good weekend. Have a safe week, and thank you.